Welcome back. Another Brennon Willard podcast from the studios of LEB TV. Brought to you today by Schaefer's Oil, by Lakeside Auto Repair, and by Ozarks Harley Davidson. Brennon is back home after traversing the roads over the weekend. You kind of doubled up. You kicked a little asphalt and stirred up some dirt, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. Well, we talked on the show that it looked really bad, for Peoria, right? And that was on Tuesday, and the weather got looking better and better, and then it ended up working out. We could come back, but really, it's been a pretty wild week or 2 weeks, I guess, with Nick, and it was really cool to see the community come together the way that they did, not only at the racetrack Saturday night, but just the homecoming parade and the funeral and the visitation. Like, I've unfortunately been to a lot of funerals, and that was one of the biggest ones I've ever been to. And Saturday was great for a lot of healing for a lot of people, and I hope that his family has got to see just the amount of people in the racing world that he touched. From Rico Abreu to Ricky Thornton having a decal on his car at Knoxville. Like, that's pretty cool. And just a lot of things happened, and it's such a tragedy losing him at a young age, but man, did he live his life fully. And
his legacy is long lasting now because his organ donation has.
And that really hit close to home for me, just because it was just right at literally the 1 year mark for me. And just knowing what can happen in organ donation and what it can do for people. And, we lost Brian Clausen in a racing accident almost 10 years ago now. And he was an organ donor, and that raised awareness to the whole racing world, and everybody signed up to be an organ donor. And for Nick to have signed up and to have been, everybody knew that was his wishes, was pretty cool. And so, the organ donation, what are you going to do when you're dead with your organs anyways, right? But for Nick there was 2 kidneys and a lung so far that they know of. So pretty awesome. And I know for the kidney deal, that's life-changing. From somebody that, when they receive a kidney, they immediately can go off dialysis that day, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible to take somebody who's having to go through dialysis, get him off dialysis immediately for what he was able to do. So he definitely changed those 2 people's lives for the better immediately. And so they're going to have quality of life and things that they didn't have. So you'd obviously much rather have Nick here, but what he was able to do, like you said, his legacy is going to live on. And I think it was awesome what Aaron and everybody at the racetrack did Saturday, and just the drivers and the victory lap and just everything that they did was pretty cool. Yeah,
it was an awesome turnout for his visitation on Tuesday night. And then yesterday morning, heaven was raining down tears. But as you say, Shadle's Colonial Chapel was just jam-packed. An awesome service, awesome remembrance, a tribute to Nick. And I think it brought front and center what the racing community did on his behalf also through these years.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you don't connect the stick and ball sports community to the racing community. They don't tie together. And when they do, it's pretty incredible because it's eye-opening, I think, to the stick and ball sports, because racing, you're a big family, whether you realize it or not. And then times like that, you really realize how big a family it is. And family members fight and quarrel, but at the same time, you got each other's back and you're there for each other. And that's the greatest part of the racing community, is how everybody's a family and you all come together when somebody's in need. And you see it every time at the racetrack. Somebody needs a part, they can be your worst enemy, and you usually come up and give them what they need. And for Nick to be able to race, what they had to do to adapt the car and everything, and the Johnson team and all the, Michael Jorgensen, everybody just coming together for him to build him a race car. And, I remember, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago when he started racing, but it really was, and just pretty cool that not only was he able to do it, but then I remember him progressing and getting better and better and better. And
well, I can still see him in that Charger, which ran on the inner track at I-44 Speedway when that inner track was first open.
Yeah, and that was, he really got really good, and he went to Bolivar and won. He won at Bolivar and Lebanon, and I just went from just racing to winning, and that was the coolest part, is seeing him being able to excel, and his memory's going to live on for sure.
Yep. Well, you went dirt racing over the weekend in the Mars category and finished 11th, so that was a good run for you.
Yeah, we've and it looked like at the beginning it was going to be another long nightmare. We qualified like crap and buried ourselves in the heat race. And Chad Little got up in the fence and jumped the cushion and ran across the racetrack, and I had nowhere to go. And it was a racing deal. It's not like he did it on purpose. But anyway, wiped our whole brand new right side body, deck, everything, just junked it. And made it out for the B. And honestly, both of us him and I both had a provisional, but I wanted to really make sure my car was okay. And we were okay in the B, but needed to make some adjustments. So it was all we could do to literally get back on the racetrack. And Tony Jackson's team, basically we all try to race together and be one big team on the road anyway. And it was Friday night, good Lord. They had all of his guys were beating sheet metal out and helping us repair that thing. And for us to get back out for the B was pretty wild. But we patched it together, and then in the feature started out really good there. We had to start obviously in the back and then just buried us, but drove our way to 11th. I think we got up to 9th at one point, and the bottom went away, and probably should have moved up, but we kind of got what we got on the bottom, and I wanted to keep going where it got me there and stick with it, and I made some adjustments. And what I am excited about is that's the first time we've really felt like we've hit on a setup that we can go to it. I think that'll work later. Maybe not at Fairbury, but it'll work when we go to Wheatland. I think it'll work when we go to Springfield. So I feel like we got a good baseline for a feature setup now that we really haven't had, and just struggled for the last couple of months, just everywhere. And a lot of it's self-inflicted, just when you don't time in well and you get buried in the heat race, and you're just, the rest of your night's just tough. And but we were able to make adjustments and fine-tune the car. And like I said, really felt like, Ryan Hargis has come on board and really helped our team out a lot and got on the road with us, and just been a huge addition to our team. Just Tyler's doing a great job, and then but we needed another person too. And so between Tyler and Ryan and Brandon Hill helping us some at the shop too, just kind of all of us working together to get the car ready each week. Last week was a scramble because we junked 2 race cars and had to completely rebuild them. And then, but we were able to have a good finish there Friday night. And then, and I'm going to harp on racetracks a little bit too. I'm going to go off of Jason Fegger's. It worked out, I guess, for us, but not really. Racetracks that, when you own a racetrack and when you're having a touring series come in, if you don't have your damn gate open where the teams can get in there the next day, you're putting everybody in a bad spot. And I understand that they're worried about 2 or 3 people taking $40 pit passes from them. But the reality of this is, every one of these guys is a touring series driver. You're with that series. All of us in the top 10 in points are getting our pit passes for free, or getting a free pit pass for the driver anyways. We are not going to jeopardize our series standings and cheat a racetrack out of that money, because it's going to, one, if you want to cheat a racetrack out of a pit pass, then I hope you have the worst karma that you ever have, and I hope your car, you get what's coming to you. But what happens is you go and that was a 3-hour drive from Brownstown to Peoria. When you drive that day, if it's noon before you can get in the racetrack and you got to drive that day, there's only so much you can get done at night. And you really want to be able to drive as soon as the races are over, get to the next track, and that way you can unload at 10 o'clock and you keep your crew in a routine. We have a routine. Cars unloaded between 10 and 11, depending on what time the start time is that night, and you go back. When the teams are not allowed to unload, and Jason Fager hit on this during Summer Nationals, you know, when we're not allowed to unload and get ready for the next night, it puts us scrambling. And I understand that, you know, if you ever have raced as a track owner, you don't know that. And the old school mentality is keep that pit gate shut. Well, it doesn't hurt to let us in, because when we can't get in, it creates a problem. Because now they said, well, they may open it between 8 and 9 in the morning. Well, you're going to get there at 2 o'clock in the morning and then get up at 8. At 2 o'clock is at best. There would have been 3. And you just can't. You have to be able to get your stuff and prepare to get to the next racetrack. But anyways, enough of that soapbox, but that's just something that racetracks need to know. And I think a lot of racetracks don't realize it. They don't realize that we have 3 to 4 hours worth of maintenance that we have to do on race cars the next day, no matter what. It doesn't matter that they were calling for rain. Like, that's at that time when we went to bed Friday night, they weren't calling for rain. So we have to be able to get to the racetrack and get set up, you know, and that was, it just puts you in a position that, I'm not picking on Peoria because every racetrack does it. A lot of racetracks do this. There's not, you know, Jerry Hoffman at Springfield, he opens the gate and tells you, hey, go park, do what you need to do. That way, because he knows you're driving in from that night before. Why does Jerry Hoffman get 200 cars for his races? Because he's a racer and he understands that. You have to put yourself in the racer's shoes to understand this. This happened to me on pavement one time in Mobile, Alabama, my favorite racetrack. But we had to buy pit kit, one of my favorite racetracks I've ever been to. But they didn't realize what they'd done. You know, you're on pavement, your tires are impounded. We had to literally buy our practice tires, go through tech, and be on the racetrack within like an hour and a half. Like, nobody got their tires mounted. It was a cluster. And I remember Ricky Brooks throwing a fit and to the track owner or promoter at that time, and making them realize that we have responsibilities. Yes, we have to have racetracks. Drivers are not going to cheat you out of pit passes. And if they do, like I said, other drivers are going to whip their ass if they find out about it. And whatever bad karma they got coming to them, they got it. So
needs to be an element of trust somewhere.
Yes, and it's our responsibility as race teams to make sure that we get our pit passes paid for. That's our responsibility, and we all will bear that responsibility, because if you're a touring series driver, you are going to make sure that your guys pay for it, because you want to be able to come back to that racetrack. We all have to work together to build this up. So anyway, 20 minutes on a soapbox and nothing. But Saturday was, we got a phone call pretty early that morning that we left it, got on the road, and within 30 minutes being on the road, found out that there was a chance of being rained out. Problem was, we were 4.5 hours from Lebanon where we were at. We stopped when we could and waited on the call, and they made a decision at noon. And at 12:30, we found out that we were rained out. Big thank you to Brandon Hill. Our car was loaded, but it was not ready. It was loaded in an enclosed, and so we got it from the dually and enclosed, and it was at I-44 waiting on us. So we drove straight to I-44 Speedway. The car was unloaded. Everything was there. Tried to get tires the best that we could. We had to change right rear springs, set the sway bar, set our loads, bolt check the car, get out on the racetrack. So we got 2 laps of practice, qualified, found our problem, why the car wasn't good after qualifying, and got lucky, though, and drew the pole. Like, whoever, my daughter is 2 for 2 on this, so, you know, I think it's awesome that Aaron does a redraw for the late models and gets the fans involved. Elson has picked the lucky fan to draw the 1 twice, so next year, hopefully he keeps that up and we can keep drawing the 1. But we drew the poll there, and just Dylan was on, and you got to give him credit when credit's due. There, he was as good as, you look at his lap times. He's as good as anybody's been in the last 2 years ever there in the last 2 years, and his
Mike
car
Sloan
was
set the fast time.
Yeah, he did, and was very fast, and I think he would have been up there too. Like, we would have had our hands full with Mike had he not broke. But Dylan was really, really good in the feature, and we just didn't have our car prepared in practice to. We were trying to pull off something that probably wasn't obtainable, but I'm glad we did it. I think if I hadn't put on Facebook we were coming, I would have talked. I had myself completely talked out at about 3:00. So I'm like, we aren't going to be there. We got to the racetrack at 4:45. Hot laps ended at 5:15. So Aaron let us make a couple laps after the victory laps for Nick, and that was good. But we just, all in all, for us to come home second, as ill prepared as we were, shout out to all my guys. They did a great job. Chuck Meads and his wife helped make sure everything was loaded, and it was a big shout out to Empire Energy. Don made sure we had fuel there. It literally took a village to make everything happen, but it did, and I was really happy with how wanted to win, but happy that put a full night together and come home one piece, and was able to just to be there for Nick and the whole family and honor him. We wanted to get back for that, and so we got our wish there, and that was cool. That worked out.
I-44 Nick Bradshaw Memorial at I-44 Speedway. I'm sure that's going to be a permanent part of the schedule going forward. 61 cars total for the night.
Wow. Good car count. And I didn't realize there were 61 cars. That's really good. Like, Aaron's really building this, and the van class is going, Vandemonium or whatever, Vandoleros, I think is what he's calling them. That class is going to be really cool next year in the little track, and my gosh, cheap. You can find a minivan for $600 all day long, and they don't have to have much of a roll bar on the little track. So that's going to be a cool class for people to go have fun and very entertaining to watch. But, your Crown Vics are at 20 every night, around 20 cars every night in the Crown Vics. The vans, I think you'll see that around 20 next year, honestly, in the little track. This is my opinion, and it doesn't matter too much, but I think the writing's on the wall. The guys that wanted the Big Ten type cars did not show up like they promised, so I think it's just going to be full late models every week and just balance the rules the best you can. You've got Mike Sloan, it's got a car. I've heard of other people coming back. Jimmy Van Zant was in the pits Saturday night. That was cool that he came back. He drove all the way from Kansas to be there for Nick, so pretty awesome of Jimmy to come. I think he missed it too. I think you got a really good chance of building that late model class back up. And if you can get the late models from 12 to 16 every night with your other classes at 20.
Bandoleros, I think, are automatically going to increase, don't you think?
Yes, and I do. And I think there's, I'm really pushing on Aaron to get the Legends cars there weekly with the Bandoleros. So you've got like a stepping stone class for the kids, and adults can get in there on that 5th mile. That a Legend car on the 5th mile would be nothing more fun than that. And we're working on a plan on that.
Legends, they're a huge class at Springfield.
Yes, and there's not much to change, so do you need to add them on a Thursday night, or what do you need to do to get them there? Whatever. Aaron's going to figure that part out, and he's done a good job getting people there, but getting your car count up, it's at 60, which is good. It's not where you want it, it's not 100 where you want it to be, right? But it's 60's way. I mean, I think he was probably at 35 or 40 when he started. So you've almost doubled it in 2 years, and your Crown Vics have been a huge part of that. Like, the van class is going to be big. Your Big Tens, they're, your modified, your Big Tens, those guys they need to sell those cars, put their money in a late model. You can get a pavement late model cheaper than you can about anything right now, a good competitive car. And people can go out and they can race and have a good time, especially weekly racing. I don't think you'll see Dylan racing for points next year. Obviously, I'm not racing for points next year. will be hit and miss, but you can get you a really, really good field of cars there and then have some specials once in a while in the late models and build your other classes up. Street Stocks has got a great set of rules. It's a great class. I keep telling everybody it's the coolest, to me, the best class is the Street Stocks, but because you can take and build a full race car in there and kind of do that in your backyard with your buddies and really, if you know how to build a race car, you can build one together. And so they're building something there that I thought pavement racing was dead 5 years ago. I really did. And with no hope, I was discouraged as anybody, but I feel like it's coming back, and it's coming back at a great pace. So hats off to Aaron. They've had a great year. He's got 2 more events coming up with the drift cars and the Show Me Chaos. And I know they're working on a big late model special next year to try to get some national cars in. And so it's going to be fun to watch over the winter what he's able to do. And Dylan Bates is headed to Pensacola this weekend. And that entry list, I was texting Dylan before the show, like Kevin Harvick, Bubba Pollard, a lot of... I guess good news for him, Keelan Harvick isn't entered. He's in the pro class because that kid's not lost. He's beating his dad's butt every week. But there's Dylan's really had a great year, and he's going to go. It's going to be tough where he's going the next few weeks, and he's going to picking all crown jewels to go to, and so hopefully he can have some good runs there, and they're able to build on what they've been able to do. But it's pretty awesome seeing a local guy try to go make it on the national tours, and hopefully he can find the funding and do that next year. And, we can all hit and miss and have some fun together when we can.
You try to get Dylan on the show here sometime.
We will. We'll have to get him up here, and especially after he runs Pensacola and a couple of these big races, and talk about what it's like. But yeah, I've been to Pensacola a few times, and that is in my opinion, one of the hardest racetracks to get around. And obviously, he's going down there. It's the last race, I think, before the Snowball Derby. So if he can find funding, he's going to go to the Snowball Derby. And, that's a lot. It's probably $20,000 to go down there and race the Snowball Derby. So hopefully he can find funding and try to go make that race, because that's the toughest race in the world to make and the biggest race in the world of short track racing to make. Doesn't matter if you're dirt or asphalt. It's the hardest one for sure.
Mars triple header, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Tri-City this weekend.
That's mods, so we are off.
You're off?
We are off. Mods only this weekend at Tri-City. So the Lake's got Power Eye Nationals with the Revival Series, and we had planned on going to that, but we need a weekend to regroup and get our feet underneath us. So we are off for one weekend. We will head to Fairbury next Friday and Saturday to close out the Mars schedule. And then Wheatland's announced 5 and a 10 for the Big Buck, which we knew the Fall Nationals was going to be something, but they announced payout this week. Big payout, and huge shout out to Casey Schumann and everybody at Lucas Oil Speedway for that. We'll be there for all 3 nights of that, and then a couple weeks off in between that and the Turkey Bowl. So I'm excited the next 3 dirt weekends for us, and maybe we can not share on a payment schedule what we're going to do on that. If we, I don't know what's going to, depends on what happens with the Turkey Bowl and the rest of our weekends on if we are able to hit another payment race up for the year ends there. But a lot coming up with Fairbury October 3rd and 4th. I'm excited about that.
NASCAR at Kansas on Sunday.
Yeah, big weekend in Missouri with Gateway getting NHRA this weekend, and then Kansas, the Cup race at Kansas. So all the national motorsports are in the Midwest this weekend. So huge weekend of racing. Go support your local racetracks, and see you next week on the show.
All right, enjoy a little downtime.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us for another Brennon Willard podcast. It is brought to you by Schaefer's Oil, by Ozarks Harley Davidson, and by Lakeside Auto Repair from the studios of LEB TV.